When I was doing the unlicensed getting fights was quite hard, you know. Once you start knocking people out and bolt, you know, and all them sort of things, people sort of like sway you, don't want to get involved. But then me and Jimmy used to go to the clubs and the bars and all that. And this time I went with Paul Moriarty from Razors along with Friday Paul, which is a proper nice geezer, mate. And Jimmy and another guy, Terry Coombs. So I went to a few bars and we ran up to this bar with Jimmy. And Jimmy never pays to get in. He always respected, give up and respect. Paul Moriarty starts, all Paul's doing is signing signatures on £5 notes and £10 notes and things like that, yeah. So anyway, so he goes down and sits down. As he goes down, there's this big guy, 6 foot something, beard, but big. I'd say 21 stone. So I sat down, had a drink, I had a Coca-Cola, you know, and anyway, so then Jimmy walked up to this big geezer. And this big geezer's looking over at me, and I'm looking over at him, and Jimmy's going, you fancy it? I'm going, yeah, all right, nod him. So Jimmy said, come up here. So I went up with Paul Moriarty. Straight away, the geezer said, you Paul Moriarty from Long Good Friday, Long Razors? He said, yeah. So he says, can I have your signature? So every time it's like, you know what I mean? So anyway, Jimmy's talking to the guy. He said, look, do you want it a bit Irish Social Club Village? Do you want to join it with me? So he said, yeah, I'll have it. He said, what's the money? So Jimmy went, I'll give you £500 if you knock Ray out, yeah? I'll give you £300 if you go the distance, and I'll give you £100 if Ray knocks you out, all right? He went, oh, all right, I'm on. Then he went, that's easiest £500 that I'm going to earn. Because this gives a lump, you know what I mean? He really fancies his chances. So from there, he walked to another club, and I met this guy that boxed with me later on, a guy called Danny Chippendale, yeah? And he was on the door of a club. And he's very good mates of Colombo. I used to see him down at Beckett, yeah? So as I walked in there, Danny Chippendale's, all right, Ray, are you? I said, yeah, sweet. He went, that was a lovely fight you had the other day. I said, I know. He said, what's up? He said, well, you come down there. I said, well, you know, we're just looking around for fights. I've just got a big geezer in a club around the corner, a bar or club around the corner. And Danny Chippendale was talking, and Jimmy said, look, what are you up to? Are you fighting, Dan? He went, yeah. So then Colombo and Danny Chippendale used to fight all the time. They're good people together, you know what I mean? So Jimmy went, look, can I have you and Colombo on my show? He went, yeah, sweet. He went, right. He said, I'll just give you both £300. He said, because I know you put up a good show. And they would go 8 rounds. They would go 8 rounds fighting each other like proper. Like, that's what they do, you know? So anyway, so he went, yeah, sweet. Anyhow. So on the night of the fight, I goes down there, and you know, this geezer's a lump, mate. He gets in the ring, he's a lump. But he's a lump. When I say he's a lump, he's quite big, but he's got a big derby, yeah? Big belly. And I think to myself, well, this geezer's got to go, isn't he? You know, but anyway, we started it off, and this geezer hit me, mate. I swear on my life. And lucky he didn't hit me on the chin. He hit me on top of the head, more or less on top of the head, because I was bobbing around, went bang, hit me on top of the head. Mate, it was like all stars. I had to stay away from him, you know what I mean? I had to move away and then get hold of him, clamp him. And he was going to me, get off me, he was pushing me off, right? And I thought, fucking, I'm in trouble here, this geezer can bang, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden he threw a punch. As he threw a punch at me, I ducked it, wham, bang! I hit him so hard with the right hand in his belly that I broke his ribs. You know, I smashed his ribs, man. I smashed them. He hit the floor, you know. But because the guy was what he was powerhouse, you know what I mean? And these people like that don't really want to bow down to no one. And he jumped up again, and I bang, mate. And everything, when I hit him in the ribs, everything went out of him. You know, like all that went out of him, testosterone, everything went out of him, mate, you know what I mean? It just, you know, and I just hit him, boom, hit him on the chin, spark out, mate, knocked him spark out. He got 100 quid. Um, I was because who I was getting £500 a fight anyway, between £500 and £300. I was having sometimes 2, 3 fights a month, yeah. So, when you have that sort of fights, it's, I just love it, you know what I mean? You just love it. And going down to Beckett as well, and all that. And Danny Chippendale and Colombo, they boxed that night, and it was fantastic. I mean, them two used to fight like lunatics. And the geezer I fought at the Rainbow, Brian Hall, yeah. Brian Hall was in the audience, Brian Hall, and I beat Brian Hall. Oh, sorry, did I beat? No, it was a draw, yeah, between me and Brian Hall. But I think I beat him anyway. But he was in sitting down, Brian, and Brian Hall is well respected. He's a doorman, can have a all right fight, mate. You know what I mean? Me and him, we had a draw, yeah, 8 round draw, yeah. And and sort of jumped out of the ring, and I was talking to him. I went, "All right, Brian." He went, "Hello, mate." He went, "All right, mate." He said, "That was a good fight, man." He said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I said, "Look, can we not get together again? Can we not have like me and you get together again and do the same thing?" He went, "Yeah, no problem." He said, "No problem." So, but me and him never fought boxed again, But I always wanted to fight him again, yeah. And then because of the way it was, because of the way it was with me and Jim and all this, that, and the other. And when we used to go down a lot of these shows, rainbows and all that, and we used to bump into a lot of people, sit down and watch the fights, and see if we could get some more fights. And I used to see Freddie Foreman in there sitting. Freddie Foreman was proper then, mate. He was I don't know what, I suppose in his 40s, maybe 50s, but he was like, you look at him, mate, Freddie Foreman, you looked at him, and you could see that he was menacing, mate. He was menacing. Everybody around him, like coming up, shaking his hand, shaking his hand, shaking his hand. Everybody respected Freddie Foreman. He's a proper hard, dangerous man. And Joe Pyle there as well. You know, the old man Joe, not young Joe, but I don't think young Joe was born in, but the old man Joe, yeah. And you look at him and you think, "Oh, he was an old man Joe." And I remember when I come out of prison. When I come out of prison, I was with a guy called Mickey Francis, and Mickey Francis used to work with Joe Pyle, and we went. I went to Joe Pyle's pub, and Joe Pyle is proper man, mate. Proper man, and that's really the first time that I met Roy Shaw. Even though I've seen Roy Shaw on the shows, that's the first time I've ever met Roy Shaw like that. We can go in and talk to him. When I was with Joe Pyle, going to his pub with my mate, yeah. Well, not my mate, but I met him. He was a mate of mine in prison, yeah. Anyway, so when I talked to Roy, I was proud to meet him. I was like excited to meet him because I've heard so much about him, Roy Shaw, and the man he was. And he was just a nice man. And then later on, I goes up to Beckett, and Roy's in there. Roy's sitting in there, and me and him got in the ring, yeah. And Roy bashed me up in a way, But after a while, when I come back, I started bashing Roy up, you know what I mean? But we could never really get it on. Not so much we could never get it on. I wasn't really interested with Roy, yeah. I wasn't really interested with Roy. I wasn't frightened of Roy, but I wasn't really interested because at that time, there's other fighters that I wanted, yeah. Fighters that I respected as well. Johnny Waldron. I respected Johnny Waldron a lot, mate. He was a really, really good fighter, John. I mean, he was a good pro as well, John. And you got Cliff Fields, who later on I become, me and Jimmy with Cliff Fields, but it's nice to meet people like that, yeah. Since that fight I had with Brian Hall, since I had that fight with Brian Hall, and Lenny McLean. Do you know what? I respected Lenny McLean. I really did respect him as a person. Yeah, never really see him fight. You know what I mean? But at that time, right, at that time when I see him at the Rainbow, yeah, and the way he was, I thought this geezer's like he ain't. We're all fighters, you know. You're all fighters. You're in the dressing room talking. Then he comes in, starts shouting his mouth about, and you think, what's going on with this geezer? You know what I mean? What's happening? Me and him have already talked. Me and him have already talked outside the ring. I know this, that, and the other. When we go in the dressing room, you got Cliff Fields there, you know, and you think to myself, you know, Cliff Fields was a proper hard man. Do you know what I mean? It could have really had it, Cliff. You know, you got Johnny Waldron there, you got Cliff there. You know what I mean? And you think to myself, he had no respect, Lenny. You know, he thought Frankie Warren give Lenny too much, made him someone that maybe he wasn't. You know what I mean? Because most of the fights that he had was a get up. You know, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them was. You know what I mean? And you know, but you know, like when you're sitting there, and I already met him. I said when I come out at the fight, and you're in there, and you know, it's nice. It was nice to meet him, even though I met him outside the ring. Yeah, it was still nice when he come in to talk to him. Yeah, not to talk to him. He was more aggressive towards us all. You know what I mean? Yeah, you see all that thing. Yeah, but you know, he like Frankie Warren. Frankie Warren he was him in the papers. Yeah, he got him in the papers, Frank, and that made him. That made the person that he was. Yeah, the film Box On made Frankie Warren, and that made him. Yeah, and Jimmy Tippet. I said to Jimmy, why can't you be like this? Why can't you be the same? You know, why can't you be exactly the same as why can't you promote more fights? Jimmy wasn't really bothered about it. You know, he didn't really care. You know what I mean? I thought, now look at Frankie Warren now. You know, it's the same as me when I had my own promotions at Acton Town Hall, yeah? You know, like I was like, why didn't I carry it on? Because, you know, I knew a lot of fighters. I knew loads and loads of fighters, mate. Unlicensed fighters. I knew so many, you know. And then Frankie Warren, I can never make out, yeah. You know, look, Frankie Warren got his license from the Boxing Board of Control, right, to become a British Board of what a promoter, because it's the unlicensed fighting with Lenny McLean and all that lot. Yeah, I would never have thought that he'd have got his license like that. But fair play to him, mate. He's done really well. He's a multi-millionaire, you know, and you know, it just guts me really because I never pushed it at that level. Anyway, just bang bang well, just a little one, and I'll do a lot one later. Yeah.